G'day there, Ray Corcoran here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 8 money saving tips that will help you obviously save money and build your wealth faster. So the thing with saving money is obviously for a lot of people, they have money that comes in the door every week or every month or whatever, but the money goes out the door just as fast. And if you are someone who is what I call a high consumption person, who's always buying things, always getting stuff, both necessary and unnecessary, you're just never going to have any money left over. And if you have no money left over, you can't invest. And if you can't invest, you can't multiply your wealth. So a lot of this wealth building will start with saving money and reducing costs. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you a few tips on how to do that. First thing we need to do is a audit of all your current expenses. So this is an easy one to do, but I can't not mention it. Go through all your bank statements, all your credit card statements, look at where your money is going. If you're watching a video about saving money right now, then there's a chance that you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you're paying for that you don't need to pay for. So you want to go there, go through it line by line, look at anything that you're spending, both recurring stuff like subscriptions and also once-off stuff that people buy. And you might see some stuff that you buy kind of once off, but you actually buy once off quite regularly, like clothes. You might buy some clothes. It might be a once off, but you might buy it month in, month out. You're always buying new clothes and that sort of stuff. So have a look at those expenses. Be ruthless about what really needs to be in there. Now, the first thing to understand as well is also that saving money is a scale. So it's kind of a bit of a spectrum from not spending any money and probably having a lower quality of life and less fun. And then you've got the other end of the spectrum, which is spending heaps of money, probably having a lot of fun, but also not saving that much. And then obviously, hopefully down the track you can move to a point where you have lots of money, you have so much money that you can spend lots and it still doesn't hurt. But until that point, if you're building wealth, you need to get good at not spending too much. Second tip I've got is focus on the big wins and not micro savings. Now, micro savings are helpful, stuff like cutting out coffees or all that sort of stuff. It does work. However, for me personally, I find that I don't want to make my own coffee. I like going out. For me, sometimes it's the only time I get out of the house for a break for work. So for me personally, I don't want to save that kind of money. A couple of dollars. It does add up to a few thousand if you have a lot of coffee. Over the course of a year. However, for me personally, I just don't want to do that. I'd rather save money elsewhere. And what you've got to understand is that, if you save money on a really, really big purchase, that's a million times better than saving a couple of little coffees here and there. So you've got to take that into consideration, that look at the big expenses that you have, whether it's rent, whether it's mortgage repayments, could you refinance that? Rent, could you live in a cheaper area or look for same area but better deal? And look at the big expenses that you have, car repayments, car insurance, any of that sort of stuff. It's way better for you to spend a little bit of time trying to get a better deal on that than you trying to save $1 here, $1 there. Obviously, all of it helps. And if you do all of it, then you'll save, the fastest out of anyone. But you've got to make your own decision about what kind of quality of life that you want to have and what you're comfortable with. So the third thing is probably the one that I think most people would struggle with, and that is saying no to things. So there's a few things within this that are really important. So one is the environment. So, if you're around people that spend a lot of money, then the chance of you spending money is going to be a lot higher. If you're going out with people that are doing things that are expensive, whether they're going to clubs or they're going out to certain restaurants or whatever it is that it's going to be expensive, everybody has certain friends that that you just know they're going to spend a lot. So you've got to limit your time with those people if you're in a real heavy savings mode. You've got to understand that. Same with looking on social media. A lot of stuff on social media, whether it's ads for products and that sort of stuff, like I have a marketing agency myself. We're trying to get your attention so you can buy stuff. And if you don't want to buy stuff, then you should really limit your time on there. And also, it won't give you envy of other people that are buying stuff or showing off their fancy things, or they've just upgraded to a nice car or done this and that. Sometimes that can give you a little bit of attention that you want to go get something as well. And you need to understand that you just need to get off that, social media treadmill. That was a roundabout, not a treadmill, but you've got to get off that sort of bandwagon and just sort of unsubscribe from that Because by getting away from that, your desire will come down for all those stupid products and things you don't need, or keeping up with the Joneses. You really need to run your own race, lay low, and eventually you'll be able to flex and buy all the cool stuff. But until that time, if you're not quite there yet, you need to be saying no to things, even if friends are asking you to go places and that sort of stuff. Sometimes it's going to be less fun to stay home and not do stuff, or do something that's not as expensive or whatever. But the reality is, you've put yourself, if you don't have any money and you want to have money, you've put yourself in a situation where you need to start making sacrifices. So it's up to you. You can either have the fun and stay broke, or you cannot have the fun and eventually not be broke, and then you can have lots of fun as you go. So it's your call. Number 4 is one of my favorite ones. It's making sure that you haggle and negotiate for everything. Now, it's maybe not the coffee down the road, but it's really, really important that you get into a habit where you think about haggling, and you're confident having the conversation about negotiating prices on everything. And I'll probably do a separate video about this at some point. If you would like to see that, let me know in the comments. But it's really, really important that you build up your negotiation muscle and your haggle muscle. The more that you do it, the easier it gets. I actually find it's quite a fun game to do, and it's not to give people disrespectful offers for certain things, or being ruthless, unless you want to be. But a lot of the time, if you just ask the question once, and often one or maybe a second question follow up will get you a discount, and it takes you 2 seconds. It's a little bit awkward, but you get hundreds of dollars of savings, thousands of dollars of savings. On every car that I've ever bought, I've always gotten at least several $1,000s in savings, and for many cars, tens of thousands as they got more expensive. So it's like, to have that practice, the practice that you make on negotiating small things will help you when you negotiate big things as well, because a lot of it's the same principle. So get used to it. I've been to department stores where most people wouldn't consider haggling. You can do stuff like price matching. Even if you can't price match, I just ask, I'm like, can you guys do any better on that price? Is there any wiggle room on that price? Asking little things like that. I've had people just log into the computer and they're just like, oh, we could probably do this if that's all right. And I'm like, yep, done. And I've just saved myself $50, $100, whatever. And I treat it like a game. I'm like, you just never know. I like finding out where the line is. Sometimes there's big savings to be had. Sometimes they make huge margins on products. So making a discount is not a big deal. They still make their money. They still make some money, and you get a deal. So just being willing to ask the question and ignore any kind of social awkwardness that comes with it. Just ask the question, and you'll be very surprised with the kinds of savings that you get. Tip number 5 is automating your savings. So this is really, really important from a psychology perspective. The less that we need to decide things, the better. So you shouldn't have to. Most people will manually decide what they want to put into their savings after they've been paid. After they've, normally people just spend, and whatever's left over goes into their savings. And I'm sure you've heard of the concept, pay yourself first. That means that you take your savings out, when you have some money come in, like a paycheck, whether it's from your business or from a job, and you take that money and put it in the savings, and you figure out the rest, about how to live off the rest. That's the best way to do it. I've always done that. And it's really important that you take the decision making out of it, because the concept is systems beat willpower. If you have a system that automates it, you don't have to decide. That will beat willpower any day of the week, because willpower fluctuates. Some days you can be bothered, other days you don't want to. Having an automated system means that emotion gets taken out of it. Number 6 is a bit more of an attitude. It's all about just embracing and getting over it. Embracing the frugal lifestyle and just getting over it. A lot of people, they're like, oh, do I have to cut this, or I don't really want to cut that, and they're just going on and on about it. And it's just like, I hate hearing about people that like, they're struggling to save, but they won't compromise on anything. If you think about previous generations that have been migrants or whatever, they didn't have a choice. They had to do it. That's just what they had to do. So I feel like these days we have so many luxuries. Like the cars. The kind of cars that we have are nicer. The homes we live in are nicer. We've got air conditioning. We've got all these little things, little creature comforts that we kind of expect, and we've got the latest iPhones and all this sort of stuff, which is fine. But if you don't have any money, you need to reduce your quality of life. And I just think, like, a lot of people kind of put it off, and they try to have their cake and eat it too. It doesn't work. It works much slower. It does work eventually, but it's a lot slower. And if you're the kind of person that really wants to ramp up and make like serious money and invest serious money, you just won't get there. Just accept it. Just humble yourself and start living off an oily rag. Get used to it. And it's easier if you embrace it and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to live, lean for X time frame, build up, get my money up a bit, and then I can start, gradually introducing some lifestyle stuff back in, while still investing and saving a lot. And it's a much better way to approach it. So number 7, when it comes to saving money, is take the emotion out of purchases. So a lot of people buy stuff like, from like I've got a marketing background, like the drivers that people buy stuff is often for status, to look like they're doing well, to attract potentially the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever you're into. They're trying to attract a partner. So they want to buy, a lot of like younger people will buy, nice clothes on the week to go out on the weekend and that sort of stuff, and they're doing it so regularly. A lot of these purchases, like if you take the emotion out, like you don't need to buy any of these things. A lot of it's in your head. A lot of people are buying confidence when they're buying certain clothes or cars or whatever it is. And it's really important to understand that if you just take the emotion out of it, and just look at it like brutally honest, is this crucial or not? Let it go. The more expenses that you can dodge and things that you think you need to buy, but if you can get away with not buying it or delaying purchases or give yourself a couple of weeks to think it over, usually you'll realize that you don't actually need it. And the more expenses that you can dodge sort of on a weekly basis and a monthly basis, it just means your account's not taking those big hits for buying a whole bunch of clothes or buying a nice dress or some fancy shoes or whatever it is. Like a lot of that stuff, it's all great, but if you're in a situation where you want to build your wealth, just cool it on those things temporarily. There's plenty of time to enjoy those products, and you can get those products are always going to be at the shops, or always going to be available online. So it's important that you just I think Jay-Z had some sort of quote where he's like, let your stuff bubble quietly in the background, lay low for a bit, and then you can do all the fancy stuff later, and you can do it year in, year out without it being a big deal. Whereas a lot of these people, they make a bit, spend all of it, and then they just keep recycling. They keep on the same cycle over and over again, which is just absolute insanity to me. Number 8 is a variety of different tips, but it's just like a couple of little simple ones. So like just basic stuff like buying in bulk. Like if you ever have stuff that you buy on a regular basis, just buy the biggest quantities that you can buy of it depending on how much space you have at your house. But buy the biggest quantities you can of it. You lock in your savings. You can spend, a lot of household sort of products you can buy that's not perishable. You can buy all that stuff like in bulk in large amounts, whether it's online, on Amazon, or buying it from some of the big retailers. If you buy enough of it, you get discounts on it. If it's stuff you're going to buy anyway gradually throughout the year, you might as well just buy big bulk amounts and you can make savings. Same with paying for stuff up front. A lot of subscriptions, if you pay for a year, you get 10, 20, 30% off straight off the bat. If you were going to get it anyway, you might as well get the discount. Same thing was with timing stuff for sales. A lot of people that, if you want to be super frugal, you can be buying, like winter clothes in summer and summer clothes in winter, when a lot of it's, if the stores have it available, you can buy those things in off-peak sort of periods and save money. Same with big sales like Boxing Day, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, end of financial year, all those different deals. Like a lot of those things that you need to buy stuff for your house or whatever it is, you can buy all that stuff when there's big discounts, when you were going to buy it anyway, but you can get a big saving. A lot of that stuff adds up, and a lot of that stuff you don't need to buy right this second. You could wait a couple of months so that sale happens, and then you can save yourself $50, $100, a few $100, and all of that does add up over time. So I hope you found those tips super useful. Ultimately, like I'm not a big on saving money is really, really important. But ultimately, saving money is good. This is good to get started. But ultimately, saving money is finite. You can only reduce your expenses and cut your costs to a point, and then you can't cut them anymore. So we need to work on, go from defense to offense, which is making more money. So that's what I like to spend a lot of my time on. But obviously, a lot of people want to know how to sort of cut costs and that sort of stuff. And a lot of these tips will get you to that point. And then you can, once you're sort of very, very efficient with your spending, you're only spending on what you need to buy, and you're saving money left, right, and center, you're negotiating on stuff, you'll be very, very efficient. And then we can shift to increasing your income. And then that way your increased income will go much, much further than it would have before. And you'll build wealth a lot faster. So hope you like that video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and feel free to like, subscribe, all that sort of jazz. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.